Everyday questions arise.
Are the stories in the Bible true?
What if I told you that there are hundreds of confirming witnesses,
which give intricate detail to the stories in the Bible?
Have you ever found yourself deep in the rabbit hole with questions that no one seemed to have the answers to? Join us every other Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time for our Ask Me Anything series with author and researcher Zen Garcia, as he sheds light on the mysteries which have us all searching together.
Hello friends, thank you for joining us this evening. I'm your host, Zen Garcia.
Friends, readers, listeners, and viewers from across America and around the world, I'm your host, Zen Garcia. This is Secrets Revealed here on Truth Frequency Radio. And as always, I thank and welcome all of you for taking the time to join us in live broadcasts. It is the 2nd of January, 2020. How crazy is that? That we have moved on to a whole new decade. And it's interesting that, I did a show last night where I was just reviewing, talking about the occurrence and the fast pace, the fast track to awakening that has occurred over the past, specifically 2 decades for me since 9/11, but certainly there's been a lot of knowledge that has come to light, in that even the millennials, the Generation X, and those that are alive today are really seeking out alternative truth and receiving their knowledge and information from different platforms and different places. And so, because of that, they are being exposed to information that a lot of individuals that grew up on TV and mainstream propaganda channels like CNN and Fox News and ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, all of those platforms that they've been kind of disconnected from that and haven't assumed the same kind of brainwashing that the previous generations of individuals that trusted and believed what the mainstream would present, which is Orwellian and skewed and uh, created for a specific purpose, to sway public opinion, to lead people in perspective and opinion. And even during the time of George Bush and, the Gulf War, and I'm talking about younger Bush, um, there was a massive budget that was put forth by a propaganda arm of government, which again is completely Orwellian. But what would happen is that they would create the news stories and then share this information across the board to all of these different media outlets, and in that manner basically have them all parrot the same story and share it in the same manner. And nobody deviated. Nobody, everybody stayed the course. And so no matter what channel you turned it on and which different region of the world, or at least America, you'd have all these different anchors and all of these different bobbleheads and um, media anchors parroting the same lines and repeating the same stories, all in the same manner. And so, because of that, we had much of the majority of Americans indoctrinated into certain mindset and brainwashed when it came to accepting the truth presented to them. And now we see the same kind of thing kind of creeping into the the alternative truth media and various platforms, YouTube especially, that there was a time, back in 2007, that's when I first got on YouTube. But back then, you could actually seek out and find information on any topic and have it kind of be wholesome. There was not the manner of propaganda and disinformation permeating YouTube as you find now, and that there are established troll sites and established, I think, individuals that are paid by this same propaganda arm to basically spread lies and to kind of, again, sway the conversation, control the dialogue, put forth uh, government approved, corporate approved propaganda. And so because of this, it's now difficult to kind of sway through, and what you find in the top searches are those particular websites and those particular individuals that have the approval of certain authorities to present information and to also be high up in the searches when it comes to presenting truth in this kind of skewed manner. And then you find also that platforms like myself and so many others that provide you alternative perspective and that give you an alternative viewpoint when it comes to understanding the story and being able to see through the facade, the illusion parading as reality. that these kind of channels will not only have, the numbers been suppressed and the view count been distorted, but now, the subscribership has been um, also suppressed, and people are being forcefully removed, unsubscribed. And so, these kind of tactics are daily what a lot of people are having to endure and try to work around. And so presenting information to the public is now somewhat difficult. And it's only those of you that have found and discovered a lot of the channels like myself, those of you that are familiar with my work, that have been listening for years to the programs that we've been doing and to the information that we've been providing, that a lot of individuals that don't know about us and that aren't turned on to us by others, they're largely not able to find us anymore. And so that's unfortunate. Um, but it is what it is. And so, I do give thanks and I am grateful to those of you that have been longtime listeners and longtime supporters of our work, and know that we do greatly, appreciate your fellowship and also your support, because as you know, again, a lot of people, and we did at one time, we had the monetization of our channel dismantled for very long time, and was very fortunate to have that put back into place. How long that will last, I don't know. Certainly, we know that they are on a rampage and that they are attempting to squash channels like us, and larger channels have already been completely wiped out. And so, those of us that have been doing this, we are being forced to consider, finding other avenues and finding other places to go to present our material. And yeah, that's a difficult thing as well, because um, in the two channels that we run here on YouTube, there is some 1,600 to 1,700 videos uploaded, averaging 2 hours each. I mean, that's a lot of content and a lot of comments, and a lot of conversations, a lot of opinions. A lot of people have spent a lot of time sharing their opinion and sharing um, influence, how much we have influence and impacted their lives. And these kind of things are irreplaceable. The footprint that we have, all of us, those of us that are content creators, that we have made upon the internet over the years and years and years that we have been doing these kind of things. Um, Unfortunately, the powers that be can just basically squash and eradicate us in no time at all. And that's unfortunate because, again, so many of you do benefit and have benefited from the things that we've talked about, the shows that we've done, the information that we have revealed. And for myself, especially, I've covered on the various channels and on the different shows that I've done in, places like Truth Frequency Radio or Revolution Radio. And I can't even tell you how many, because I'm averaging now anywhere between 4 hours and, you know, 10, 12 hours a week, um, being on radio and sharing, reading from a lot of ancient manuscripts, which you may never have heard about, and sharing, chapter by chapter, verse by verse, a lot of this esoteric information. And it's a lot of work if you consider that I've been on the air since 2006 and pretty much full time, 2 to 3 times a week since 2008. And how many, weeks it's been, 52 weeks over 2 decades. So that's a lot of shows and a lot of time and a lot of effort, a lot of show descriptions, a lot of airtime, a lot of reading. And so, I encourage you, especially those of you that have discovered our work and that are being blessed by it, to take the time to go through the archives because there's so much information there. And really, we don't know how long all that is going to remain possible for your viewing leisure. And, all of this is made available to you free of charge. Yes, we do monetize ads on our videos, but, it's like 3 to 5 seconds, 3 to 5 times in a 2 to 3 hour video. I mean, it's not much. 15 seconds of ad space, really. And those kind of things do really assist, especially for those of us that are committed full time to doing this kind of work. And so, um, those of you again that do appreciate individuals like myself and others, Rob, and so many other platforms and channels, and so many other people doing really beautiful work here on YouTube. Um, try to support them if you can, and even if it's uh, the price of a Happy Meal over the course of a month. And I'm not saying this for myself, because I'm not in any way struggling. The Most High has really greatly blessed me But for others that have no other, source of income, then that might be um, having a more difficult time just trying to maintain what they're doing. For those kind of individuals, and for smaller ministries, that are just trying to get their feet and trying to find a voice and trying to create a platform. And I encourage all of you, each one of you that are out there, to do similar work, to empower yourself to share with others the truth of what you have learned. Because over time and being persistent, you will develop an audience and you will find that you are able to affect people in a profound manner with, work that is meaningful. And, we need a lot of voices. We need new blood, new energy. And you just never know. I mean, I'm so well impressed by individuals like, Red Pill. Red Pill 78. He's only been on the air for just a few years, I believe, if I remember correctly, and already has just massive subscriber base, and is in the process of seeking and going through information to get to the truth, and is willing to examine things outside of the realm of what has been his norm. And so you never know how fast and who you will impact. It's just a matter of trying. But, anyways, when we return from this first break, I'm going to read to you from the Sibylline Oracles and kind of tell you a little bit about what this manuscript is and historically what these so called professionals say about it, even though I personally don't believe anything that the professionals say, and anything that Wikipedia puts out on what, the dating, the timing of manuscripts, and um, the so called historical information connected to them. I think a lot of that is skewed and the truth is downplayed in such manner that you don't consider the information, or that it doesn't interest you because they set the premise that it's a forgery, or um, it's a later rendition of some other ancient, what was maybe prophetic at one time. That the powers that be, the seed of the serpent, and the opposition, the powers, the principalities, the rulers of darkness and wickedness in high places, they have forever long been skewing in such manner opinion about the ancient manuscripts. And so I encourage you to read them. Read them for yourself. Don't believe anything about what others say of them, but read and study and consider them for yourself. And then take them to the Most High in prayer. Ask the Holy Spirit to lead you in discernment. Study to show yourself approved. And allow the Most High to decide for you, to guide you in discernment and to reveal to you the truth. Knock, seek, and find. But don't believe the opinions of others, and especially don't accept their interpretations of these different manuscripts, these ancient uh, mythologies and legends. Don't allow them to form an opinion for you on a text that you have not even read yet. Read it for yourself, study it and examine it for yourself, and consider that historically truth has been kept from you. Information that has and is prophetic, knowledgeable revelation, that kind of information has been disappeared, eradicated, dissolved, and extirpated to keep you in ignorance. And so don't assist them in keeping you dumbfounded, but break free. Break the chains of the matrix on your mind and your spirit and examine things for yourself. All right, we'll be right back and we'll get into this.
Every day, questions arise.
Are the stories in the Bible true?
What if I told you that there are hundreds of confirming witnesses?
which give intricate detail to the stories in the Bible.
Have you ever found yourself deep in the rabbit hole with questions that no one seemed to have the answers to? Join us every other Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time for our Ask Me Anything series with author and researcher Zen Garcia, as he sheds light on the mysteries which have us all searching together.
friends. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm your host, Zen Garcia.
All right, welcome back, everybody. And as I said, I want to share with you a little bit about the Sibylline Oracles. And the reason being is because I have just compiled them, and there are 14 books, and released them in their own collection. And this is one of the two that I kind of put together in quick assembly last month while I've been working on the vestures of light and the garments or the rod of wonder, which I am projecting should be available within 3 months, if not sooner, depending on how quickly I'm able to finish up that portion that, because I am down to, I think, the last chapters, last one or two chapters. And so if I can get that and then proofread it, and I know there's some information I'm going to have to just exclude from it, just to maybe, and at some other point, if I need to, I can add to it, but I don't want to overkill it because I have a tendency to do that. Just because there's so much information that I discover and so much that I want to present to you. But specifically tonight, I'm going to be reading from the second book of the Sibylline Oracles, which is my most favorite. And the reason being is because it is specific to the end of days. And this particular text we have included with the Great Commission, the third book, which is on the end time apocalypses. But this newer one, as I said, it contains all 14 manuscripts of the Sibylline Oracles, which, as I said, I will read a little bit about it. It was translated from the Greek. It was written by several, Sibyls are like prophetesses. And over the time of the Etruscan and the Roman empires. And originally it was from the 6th century BC and leading up to the 1st century and the conversion of the Roman Empire to Christianity that a lot of this was foreseen. And I believe that a lot of this is also messianic in that it speaks about and reveals Yahushua as the Son of God and also as Savior Messiah. And, even though these prophetesses were not Christian and predated Christianity, they foresaw what was, the whole incarnation of Christ into embodiment and the impact and the influence that he would have on the world. So I'll read just a little bit of information from this. It says, as the translator notes, this collection should more properly be titled the Pseudo-Sibylline Oracles. The original Sibylline books were closely guarded oracular scrolls written by prophetic priestesses, the Sibyls, in the Etruscan and early Roman era as far back as the 6th century BCE. These books were destroyed partially in a fire in 83 BC and finally burned by the order of the Roman general Flavius Stilicho in 365 to 408 CE. There's very little knowledge of the actual contents of the original Sibylline books. The texts which are presented here are forgeries, so they say, probably composed between the 2nd to 6th century, probably, so they say. They purport to predict events which were already history or mythological history at the time of composition. It's funny because they said that same thing about the Book of Enoch, as well as vague all-purpose predictions, especially woe for various cities and countries such as Rome and Assyria. They are an odd pastiche of Hellenistic and Roman pagan mythology, including Homer and Hesiod, Jewish legends such as the Garden of Eden, Noah, and the Tower of Babel, thinly veiled references to historical figures such as Alexander the Great, Cleopatra, as well as a long list of Roman emperors, and last but not least, the Gnostic and early Christian homilies and eschatological writings, all in no particular order. There may be actual residue of the original Sibylline books wedged in here and there, but this is dubious, or so they say. Anything that is prophetic and that is messianic, they, of course, downplay. And it's always been that way. That's the whole controversy for and about and behind the arguments for and against the Book of Enoch was that, because they have prophecies of Christ as the Son of Man contained within them, or, the elect one, or the Ancient of Days, that they have to be, or had to have been written after his coming and after his entrance into flesh form. And, it's the same kind of thing that they try to say about the Old Testament prophecies as well, or to the extra biblical prophecies, even the Targum, the numerous prophecies on the word of the Lord and his incarnation and entrance into flesh form, and how all this was covered up. So it's nothing new under the sun. They do the same thing with everything else. And that's why I personally do not trust professional opinion and the so-called, scholastic PhD, those who are and consider themselves to be authoritative and respected and should be well honored opinion on extra biblical and ancient manuscripts. Even if you consider the Nag Hammadi codices, how everybody teaches, every so-called expert teaches that the demiurge is Yahweh of the Old Testament, when this is in fact absolutely not true. That is not at all what the Nag Hammadi codices teach and reference. And all you have to do is look up the passages within the codices that tell you exactly who the demiurge is. And you'll see that the demiurge, Yaldabaoth, is also called Saklas, the blind fool, and Samael, the viper of God. And that historically and in the ancient commentaries, Samael is the name for the serpent that beguiled Eve in the garden. And you can even find this in the Targum translation of Genesis chapter 3, verse 6, where it speaks about the serpent that beguiled Eve through his subtlety to evil, that this serpent is named Samael, which again is one of the names for the demiurge. And so the Nag Hammadi codices, they also reference Satan as being the demiurge, which is exactly what the Bible reveals, that the prince of the air, the fallen cherub, Samael, Satan, the adversary, that he has been given temporary reign over this world. And that is absolutely the truth of the matter. He is the eye at the top of the Illuminati pyramid. He is Legion, the Ephesians 6, the principalities, the rulers of darkness. And so, we'll get into this text and then you'll see just in me reading it how applicable it is to the study of the end times in the last days. And also, you will see how it reveals, um, just like in Revelation, the story of the stars crashing to the earth, the sun um, turning black and the moon turning blood red, these kind of things. And I'm wondering actually if I should skip certain portion to get through all of this. But I'll not. I'll just start at the beginning of the text. We'll see how far we get through. And then if I need to, I'll skip towards the end. All right. The Sibylline Oracles, Book 2. Now, while I'm much entreated, God restrained my wise song, also in my breast again. He put the charming voice of words divine. In my whole body terror stricken, these I follow, for I know not that I speak, but God impels me to proclaim each thing. But when on earth comes shocks, fierce thunderbolts, thunders and lightning, storms and evil blight, and rage of jackals and of wolves, manslaughter, destruction of men and of lowing kind, four-footed cattle and laborious mules, and goats and sheep, then shall the ample field be barren from neglect, and fruits shall fail, and there shall be a selling of their freedom among most men, and robbery of temples, and then shall after these appear of men the 10th race, when the earth shaking lightener shall break the zeal for idols, and shall shake the people of seven-heeled Rome, and riches great shall perish, burned by Vulcan's fiery flame. And then shall bloody signs from heaven descend, but yet the whole world of unnumbered men in rage shall kill each other, and in tumult shall God send famines, plagues, and thunderbolts on men who without justice judge of rights, and lack of men shall be in all the world, so that if anyone beheld a trace of a man on earth, he would be wonderstruck. And then shall the great God who dwells in heaven, Savior of pious men, in all things prove. And then shall there be peace and wisdom deep, and the fruit bearing land shall yield again abundant fruits, divided not in parts, nor yet enslaved. And every harbor then, and every haven shall be free to men as formerly, and shamelessness shall perish. And then will God show mortals a great sign, for like a lustrous crown shall shine a star, bright, all resplendent from the radiant heaven. Days not a few, and then will he display from heaven a crown for contest unto men who wrestle, and then there shall be again a mighty contest of triumphal march into the heavenly sky, and it shall be for all men in the world, and have the fame of immortality, and every people shall then in the immortal contest strive for splendid victory. For no one there can shamelessly with silver buy a crown. For unto them will the pure Christ adjudge that which is due, and crown the ones approved, and give his martyrs an immortal prize, who carry on the contest unto death. And unto chaste men who run their race well will he the incorruptible reward of the prize give, and to all men allot that which is due. And also to strange nations that live a holy life and know one God, and those who have regard for marriages and keep themselves far from adulteries. To them rich gifts, eternal hope he'll give, for every human soul is God's free gift, and 'tis not right men stain it with vile deeds. Do not be rich unrighteously, but lead a life of probity. Be satisfied with what thou hast, and keep thyself from that which is another's. Speak not what is false, but have a care for all things that are true. Revere not idols vainly, but the God imperishable. Honor always first, and next thy parents. Render all things due, and into unjust judgment come thou not. Do not cast out the poor unrighteously, nor judge by outward show. If wickedly thou judgest, God hereafter will judge thee. Avoid false testimony. Tell the truth. Maintain thy virgin purity, and guard love among all. Deal measures that are just, for beautiful is measure full to all. Strike not the scales out one side, but draw them equal. Forswear not ignorantly, nor willingly. God hates the perjured man in that he swore. A gift proceeding out of unjust deeds, never receive in hand. Do not steal seed. Accursed through many generations, he who ticket unto scattering of life. Indulge not vile lusts, slander not, nor kill. Give the toil worn his hire, and do not afflict the poor man. Unto orphans help afford, and to widows and the needy talk with sense. Hold fast in heart a secret. Be unwilling to act unjustly, nor yet tolerate unrighteous men. Give to the poor at once, and say not, come tomorrow. Of thy grain give to the needy with perspiring hand. And that portion right there fits, I mean, with not only the commandments, the Ten Commandments, but the whole thing of basically do unto others as you would want them to do unto you, to take care of the less fortunate, the orphan, the widow, those in need. I mean, these are really basic decencies. It's doing goodness for goodness sake. And yet, these are the commandments that the Most High God has given to us through his gospel and through his word and through the example of Yahushua and the apostles. And it is these things which we will be judged upon in whether we acted in accordance with the mandates that he has given to us, revealed to us, and shared with us through the patriarchs, the prophets, and the apostles. And so, it's nothing overly um, burdensome. I mean, really, it's easy if you're a common, decent, and you know, kind of regular human being. All right, let's continue. He who gives alms knows how to lend to God. Mercy redeems from death when judgment comes. Not sacrifice, but mercy. How important is that? To instead of sacrificing animals, give to the poor. That mercy, as it says here, not sacrifice, but mercy God desires rather than sacrifice. The naked clothe, share thy bread with the hungry. In thy house receive the shelterless and lead the blind. Pity the shipwrecked, for the voyage is uncertain. To the fallen give a hand, and save the man that stands without defense. Common to all is suffering. Life's a wheel, riches unstable. Having wealth, reach out to the poor thy hand. Of what God gave to thee, bestow thou also on the needy one. Common is the whole life of mortal men, but it comes out unequal. When thou seest a poor man, never banter him with words, no nor harshly accost a man who may be blamed. One's life in death is proven. If one did the unlawful or just, it shall be decided when he to judgment comes. Disable not thy mind with wine, nor drink excessively. Eat not blood, and abstain from things offered to idols. Gird not on the sword for slaughter, but defense. And would thou might it neither lawlessly nor justly use. For if thou kill an enemy, thy hand thou dost defile. Keep from thy neighbor's field, nor trespass on it. Just is every landmark, and trespass painful. Useful. Yeah. All right, we'll be right back for a second hour.
Everyday questions arise.
Are the stories in the Bible true?
What if I told you that there are hundreds of confirming witnesses?
which give intricate detail to the stories in the Bible.
Have you ever found yourself deep in the rabbit hole with questions that no one seemed to have the answers to? Join us every other Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time for our Ask Me Anything series with author and researcher Zen Garcia, as he sheds light on the mysteries which have us all searching together.
Sacred Word Revealed comes to Atlanta, Georgia on March 27th through 29th, 2020. Purposed to reveal end times mysteries, to prepare the final generation, we must don the full armor of God. Featuring Zen Garcia, Gary Wayne, Stephen and Yana Ben Noon, Dr. Stephen Pidgeon, Justin James Garcia, Dr. Joy Pugh, Rob Skiba, Laurel Austin, buy your tickets now at sacredwordrevealed.com.
Hello friends, thank you for joining us this evening. I'm your host, Zen Garcia.
All right, welcome back, everybody, for a second hour. I'm your host, Zen Garcia. This is Secrets Revealed here on Truth Frequency Radio. And I thank all of you that are in the chat. Um, Greatly appreciate the dialogue and the fellowship. We're like a family, an ecclesia, and it's a beautiful thing to see everybody just wishing each other blessing and bounty. Um, I'm going to continue reading. I am uh, sharing from the Sibylline Oracles, especially specifically the second book, which is about the judgment and the end of days, and the distinction of that which is bestowed upon the wicked and the righteous. And it sets in the very beginning of this text the laws and the commandments that the Most High ordains in mandate to all of us as believers and disciples unto Christ, and why it is that we should follow and do good for goodness sake. Because again, as this text says, riches are fleeting. You never know when life will turn upside down. And so, in times when you can aid those that are in need, and the time when, things may be flip flop and you find yourself suffering and in similar need, that because of the help that you provided previously, that God will bless you in similar manner. And so that's the way of it, that we are here to encourage, empower, and to care for and take care uh, of the ills and the needs and the suffering of each other and one another, to make the journey um, a little less daunting. All right, continuing. Useful is possession of lawful wealth, but of unrighteous gains 'tis worthless. Harm not any growing fruit of the field, and let strangers be esteemed in equal honor with the citizens. For much enduring hospitality shall all experience as each other's guests. But let there not be anyone a stranger among you, since ye mortals, all of you, are of one blood, and no land has for men any sure place. I would add here, though, even though, yes, we are of one blood, there are those that are the children of the devil, and they most certainly are at odds, enmity, the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent. So be aware and recognize that they are the enemies of humanity, and that they are those that are aligned against the goodwill of you know common people everywhere in the world. All right, continuing. Wish not nor pray for wealth, but pray to live from few things, and possess nothing at all unjust. The love of gain is mother of all evil. Do not long for gold or silver. In them there will be a double edged and soul destroying iron. A snare to men continually are gold and silver. Gold of evil source of life destructive, troubling all things. Would that thou wert not to mortals such a longed for bane, for wars because of thee, and pillaging and murders come, and children hate their sires, and brothers and sisters those of their own blood. Plot no deceit, and do not arm thy heart against a friend. Keep not concealed within a different thought from what thou speakest forth, nor, like rock clinging polyp, change with place, but with all be frank, and things from the soul speak thou forth. Whosoever wilfully commits a wrong, an evil man is he. But he that does it under force, the end I tell not. But let each man's will be right. Pride not thyself in wisdom, power, or wealth. God only is the wise and mighty one, and full of riches. Do not vex thy heart with evils that are past, for what is done can never be undone. Let not thy hand be hasty, but ferocious passion curb. For many times has one in striking done murder without design. Let suffering be common, neither great nor overmuch. Excessive good has not brought forth to men that which is helpful, and much luxury leads to immoderate lusts. Much wealth is proud, and makes one grow to wanton violence. Passionate feeling creeping in affects destructive madness. Anger is a lust, and when it is excessive, it is wrath. The zeal of good men is a noble thing, but of the base is base. Of wicked men, the boldness is destructive, but renown follows that of the good. To be revered is virtuous love, but that of caprice works increase of shame. A silly man is called very agreeable among his fellows. With moderation eat, drink, and converse. Of all things, moderation is the best. But trespass of its limit brings to grief. Be not thou envious, faithless, or abusive, or evil minded, or a false deceiver. Be prudent and abstain from shameless deeds. Imitate not what's evil, but leave thou vengeance to justice. For persuasion is a useful thing, but strife engenders strife. Trust not too quickly, ere thou see the end. This is the contest. These are the rewards. These are the prizes. And this the gate of life. An entrance into immortality, which God in heaven unto most righteous men appointed a reward for victory. And through this gate shall gloriously pass those who shall then receive the victor's crown. But when this sign shall everywhere appear, children with gray hair on their temples born, and human sufferings, famines, plagues, and wars, and change of times, and many a tearful wail. Ah, of how many parents in the lands will children mourn and piteously weep, and with shrouds bury flesh and limbs in earth. Mother of peoples, with the blood and dust themselves defiling. O ye wretched men of the last generation, evil doers, terrible, childish, not perceiving this, that when the tribes of women do not bear, the harvest time of mortal men is come. Near is the ruin when impostors come. instead of prophets speaking on the earth. And Beliar shall come, and many signs perform for men. See, I just want to stop here for just a second and emphasize that with the last generation comes the Antichrist, who's here spoken of as Beliar. And Beliar is one of the names of Baal. And we know that Baal is the false god whom the pagans worshipped in child sacrifice, in fertility, sexual orgies. I mean, all kind of abomination. And so the last generation is connected to these things. And so we're getting again into prophecy. All right, continue. And Beliar shall come, and many signs perform for men. And then of holy men, elect and faithful, there shall be confusion, and pillaging of them and of the Hebrews. And there shall be upon them fearful wrath, when from the east a people of 12 tribes shall come in search of kindred Hebrew people, whom Assyrian shoot destroyed, and over these shall nations perish. But they afterwards shall over men exceedingly mightily rule, elect and faithful Hebrews, and enslave them as before, since their power never shall fail. He that is highest of all, the all surveying, dwelling in heaven, will scatter sleep on men, covering the eyelids over. O blessed servants, whom when the master comes, he finds awake, and they all watched at all times, and expect with sleepless eyes, for it will be at dawn, or eve, or midday, but he sure shall come. And it shall be as I say, it shall be to them that sleep, that from the starry heaven the stars at midday will to all appear with the two lights as the time hastens on. And when the Tishbit, this is Elijah, when the Tishbit urging from heaven his chariot celestial, and on earth arriving, shall to all the world display three evil signs of life to be destroyed. Alas, for all the women in that day who shall be found with burden in the womb. Alas, for all who suckle tender babes. Alas, for all who shall dwell on the waves. Alas, for women who shall see that day. For a dark mist shall hide the boundless world, east, west, and south and north. And then shall flow a mighty stream of burning fire from heaven, and every place consume earth, ocean vast, and gleaming sea, and lakes and rivers, springs, and cruel Hades, and the heavenly sky, and heavenly lights shall break up into one, and into outward form, all desolate. For stars from heaven shall fall into all seas, and all the souls of men shall gnash their teeth, burned both by sulfur, stream, and a force of fire. In ravenous soil and ashes hide all things, and then of the word all the elements shall be bereft: air, earth, sea, light, sky, days, nights, and no longer in the air shall fly birds without number, nor shall living things that swim the sea swim any more at all, nor freighted vessel over the billows pass, nor kind straight guiding plow the field, nor sound of furious winds, but he shall fuse all things together and shall pick out what is pure. But when the immortal gods, eternal angels, Erekiel, Ramiel, Uriel, Semiel, and Azazel, they that know how many evils anyone did before, shall from dark gloom then lead to judgment all the souls of men before the judgment seat of the great God, immortal, for imperishable is one only, himself the Almighty, one who shall be judge of mortals, and to them that dwell beneath will then the heavenly one give souls and spirit and voice, and also bones fitted with joints unto all kinds of flesh, and both the flesh and sinews, veins, skin about the body, and hair as before, divinely fashioned, and with breathing moved, shall bodies of those on earth one day be raised. And then shall Uriel, mighty angel, break the bolts of stern and lasting adamant, which monstrous, bold, the brazen gates of Hades. Straight cast them down, and unto judgment lead all forms that have endured much suffering. Chiefly the shapes of the Titans born of old, and giants, and all whom the deluge whelmed, and all that perished in the billowy seas, and all that furnished banquet for the beasts and creeping things and fowls, these in a mass shall Uriel summon to the judgment seat. And also those whom flesh devouring fire destroyed in flame, even these shall he collect and place before the judgment seat of God. And when the high thundering Lord of Sabaoth, making an end of fate, shall raise the dead, sit on his heavenly throne, and firmly fix the mighty pillar, then amid the clouds, Christ, who himself is incorruptible, shall come unto the incorruptible in glory with pure angels, and shall sit at the right hand on the great judgment seat, to judge the life of pious and the way of impious men. And Moshe, the great friend of the Most High, shall come enrobed in flesh. Also great Abraham himself shall come, Isaac, Jacob, Joshua, Daniel, Elijah, Habakkuk, Jonah, and those whom the Hebrews slew. But he'll destroy the Hebrews after Jeremiah, all who are to be judged at the judgment seat, that worthy recompense they may receive, and pay for all each did in mortal life. And then shall all pass through the burning streams of flame unquenchable, but all the just shall be saved, and the godless furthermore shall to all ages perish, all who did evils aforetime and committed murders, and all who are accomplices therein, liars, thieves, ruiners of home, crafty and terrible parasites, and marriage breakers, pouring forth vile words, dread, wanton, lawless, idolaters, and all who left the great immortal God, became blasphemers, did the pious harm, destroying faith and killing righteous men, and all that with a shamelessness deceitful and double-faced rush in as presbyters and reverend ministers, who knowingly give unjust judgments, yielding to false words, more hurtful than the leopards and the wolves, and more vile and ill, that are grossly proud, and usurers, who gain on gains amass, and damage orphans and widows in each thing. and all that give to widows and to orphans the fruit of unjust deeds, and all that cast reproach in giving from their own hard toils, and all that left their parents in old age, not paying them at all, nor offering to parents filial duty, and all who were disobedient and against their sires, spoke a harsh word, and all that pledges took, and then denied them, and the servants, all who were against their masters, and again those who licentiously defiled the flesh, and all who loosed the girdle of the maid for secret intercourse, and all who caused abortions, and all who their offspring cast unlawfully away, and sorcerers and sorceresses with them, and these wrath of the heavenly and immortal God shall drive against the pillar where all shall around in a circle flow a restless stream of fire. And deathless angels of the immortal God, whoever is, shall bind with lasting bounds in chains of flaming fire, and from above punish them all by scourge most terribly. And in Gehenna, in the gloom of night, shall they be cast neath many horrid beasts of Tartarus, where darkness is immense. But when there shall be many punishments, yet afterward shall there a fiery wheel from a great river circle them around, because they had a care for wicked deeds. And then one here, another there, shall sires, young children, mothers nursing babes in tears wail their most piteous fate. No fill of tears shall be for them, nor piteous voice be heard of them that moan, one here, another there, but long worn under dark, dank Tartarus, and shall they cry, and they shall repay in cursed places thrice as much as all the evil work they did, burned with much fire, and all of them consumed by raging thirst and hunger, shall in anguish gnash their teeth, and call death beautiful, and death shall flee away from them. For neither death nor night shall ever give them rest, and many things in vain will they ask of God that rules on high, and then will he his face turn openly away from them. For he to erring men gave in 7 ages repentance, signs, by the hands of a virgin undefiled. But the others all to whom right and fair works, and piety and thoughts most just were dear, shall angels, bearing through the burning stream, lead unto light and life exempt from care. Where comes the immortal way of the great God, and fountains 3, honey, wine, and milk, an equal land for all, divided not by walls or fences, more abundant fruits, spontaneous shall then bear, and the course of life be common, and wealth unapportioned, for there no longer will be poor nor rich, tyrant nor slave, nor any great nor small, nor kings, nor leaders, all alike in common. No more at all will one say, night has come, nor morrow comes, nor yesterday has been, nor shall there many days of anxious care, nor spring, winter, summer heat, nor autumn be, nor marriage, nor yet death, sales, purchases, the set of sun, riding, or rising. For a long day will God make, and to the pious will the Almighty God, imperishable, grant another thing, when they shall ask the imperishable God, that he will suffer men from raging fire and endless gnawing anguish to be saved, and this will he do. For hereafter he will pluck them from the restless flame, elsewhere remove them, and for his own people's sake send them to other and eternal life with the immortal in Elysian field, where move far stretching billows of the lake, of ever-flowing Arsharon profound. Ah, miserable woman that I am, what shall I be in that day? For I sinned, being busy, foolishly, about all things, caring for neither marriage bond nor reason. But even in my wealthy husband's house, I shut the needy out, and formerly I knowingly performed unlawful things. But, Savior, though I shameless things performed, do not from my tormentors, do thou from my tormentors rescue me. All right, we'll be right back for final segment.
Sacred Word Revealed comes to Atlanta, Georgia on March 27th through 29th, 2020. Purposed to reveal end times mysteries, to prepare the final generation, we must don the full armor of God. Featuring Zen Garcia, Gary Wayne, Stephen and Yana Ben Noon, Dr. Stephen Pidgeon, Justin James Garcia, Dr. Joy Pugh, Rob Skiba, Laurel Austin, buy your tickets now at sacredwordrevealed.com.
Everyday questions arise.
Are the stories in the Bible true?
What if I told you that there are hundreds of confirming witnesses?
which give intricate detail to the stories in the Bible.
Have you ever found yourself deep in the rabbit hole with questions that no one seemed to have the answers to? Join us every other Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time for our Ask Me Anything series with author and researcher Zen Garcia, as he sheds light on the mysteries which have us all searching together.
everybody for final segment. I have almost made it through this text, but a couple of questions in the chat room. Just a comment from Dr. Julie. She says that, many of the things that I've been reading from, she has done. And likewise, all of us have really sinned in manners that make us unworthy of the salvation that we are promised through Christ in dying on the cross as the Passover lamb to bring us a forgiveness and a restoration of our former state. It's only because of the mercy of God that we are blessed to have heart. And so, and also William asks about the Animal Farm references that both Rob and I talk about in sharing discourse on the Book of Enoch. And you can find that in, I believe it begins with chapter 89. And it's basically the dream vision that Enoch had, where he talks about the fall of the angels. It begins with Lucifer and the seduction of Eve, and how Cain was born from that as the black cow, and his bloodline. They are the black cows, and Adam and his children, they are the white cows. And then it goes through in this whole Animal Farm parable the course of the entire generations of humanity leading to the end of days, and what is the separation of the harvest between the wheat and the tares, and then the judgment, because it's always the judgment that ends everything, as we see within this particular text, that um, the righteous are awarded, and those that are worthy of being numbered amongst the elect, they are allowed to enter into New Jerusalem, which is the promise. It's the place of the righteous that has been preserved and prepared for us. When Yahushua said, I go now to prepare a place for you, and that he would return to gather us so that we can benefit in being able to dwell in the, in my Father's house are many mansions. Um, and so that's the reward. And then those that have considered themselves to be above the law, and that have, especially in the New World Order elites and the seed of Cain, that have sitting on the thrones of the world, and that have, with the divine right to rule, just, the slaughter of innocents, the rule with impunity, the above the law, do as thou wilt, that kind of behavior, that there's going to be a reckoning. There's going to be a recompense. There's going to be a judgment where they will get their just deserves. And so I'm going to finish because we only have just a little bit left from the Sibylline Oracles, Book 2. And then I'm going to share a text from one of the newer book discoveries, manuscript discoveries in connection to Enoch, which is also messianic and prophetic. And it's a short one, so I should be able to finish it in this segment and then share comment. And then in the next broadcast, I'm going to go into and share other Enochian texts which are not, which the public is not familiar with. And I'll share with you what I'm talking about here in just a minute. But let me go ahead and finish this text. And I'm going to just begin at the top of this particular passage. This is the final segment. It says, "Where move far-stretching billows of the lake of ever-flowing Acheron profound, ah, miserable woman that I am, what shall I be in that day? For I sinned, being busy foolishly about all things, caring for neither marriage bond nor reason. But even in my wealthy husband's house I shut the needy out, and formerly I knowingly performed unlawful things. But Savior, thou, though I shameless things performed, do thou from my tormentors rescue me, a shameless woman, and I pray thee now, make me to rest a little from my song, holy giver of manna, king of the great realm." And so, I pray that for all of us, that because we are unworthy and we all fall short and none are perfect, but because our Messiah is, that we can be redeemed through him. And, what an incredible blessing that is to have a God that loves us so much that he was willing to die on the cross for us and to allow himself to be brutalized in persecution so that he could, in dying a sinless death, redeem us to perfection through him. It's the whole premise of uh, John 3:16. And so, but now I'm going to quickly switch over and try to share with you a text called the account of Enoch the prophet. And what I was speaking about with regard to um, the texts that are found in this book that we put together called The Collected Works of Enoch, that usually what you will find in a book compilation on the book of Enoch is you'll find the first book of Enoch, the second book of Enoch, this book of the secrets of Enoch, and then the Hebrew text of third Enoch, which is about Enoch being transformed into Metatron from the perspective of a Rabbi Ishmael. And I'm not talking about the son of Abraham, but a different Ishmael. Um, but what I wanted to share with you, especially for those that are following along and that are reading and studying with both Rob and I as we go through the book of Enoch chapter by chapter and verse by verse from both the R.H. Charles and the Richard Lawrence translation, that there are numerous manuscripts which can give you greater insight into the Genesis 6 story of the sons of God mating with the daughters of Cain, creating a race of giants known as the men of renown, and how this information, this knowledge has been suppressed mostly and almost completely eradicated, so that it had disappeared for thousands of years from public consideration. And it was preserved in the Ethiopic canon, that the book of Enoch is canonized in Ethiopia. And James Bruce, I believe it was, that in traveling he secured 3 manuscripts and brought them back and then gave them out to be translated. And that's how the Book of Enoch was reintroduced to the Western speaking and English Christian world. And so, and that was in the late 1800s. And so it's only been a couple hundred years now that this information has been brought back to light. And it's intriguing that a lot of other manuscripts in similarity were brought back to light within the last couple of hundred years. And so in this collected works of Enoch, we have the account of Enoch the prophet, which is a Greek text found in 2006, and cannot speak of the authenticity of it, but we do have it provided for your consideration. And then chapters 3 and 4 from the Book of Jubilees, of which Rob and I read in the portion of the Genesis timeline and the narrative of the creation week, where we got to the life of Enoch prior to the Genesis 6 passage on the sons of God. And then we have the Book of Enoch, which everybody is familiar with, and that's the one that we're reading and studying from. Then the Book of the Secrets of Enoch, or To Enoch. And then there is contained within this particular book the Aramaic Dead Sea Scrolls, the fragments of Enoch 1, all of the different fragments that were found as part of the Dead Sea Scrolls. And what a lot of people don't know is that there were 2 entire fully extant books of Enoch in Aramaic that were also discovered there but have not been released to the public, which is unfortunate because it would be the most ancient rendition of the Book of Enoch. And wow, what I would give to read that. It would be amazing, I'm sure. And then we have a book called Ogdius the Giant, which is part of the numerous manuscripts on the Book of the Giants that are available as well. We have the Mandean Book of the Giants also included, a midrash called the Midrash of Semyaza and Aza, a midrash is the oral tradition that came up as commentary with the written law. And it's something that the rabbinical priesthood collected and now teaches side by side with the books of Moshe, which is the written law. There's the oral law as well, and this is part of that, the midrash. And then we have included Kebra Nagas chapter 100, which is an incredibly detailed chapter on what occurred in Genesis 6. And it's one of my most favorite chapters and most favorite accounts of what occurred in that particular passage. And then we have the Armenian vision of Enoch the Just, which will be part of what I read in the next show. Then the 3rd book of Enoch again, which is the Hebrew book of Enoch. Then we have the Coptic Apocryphon of Enoch, which again, not a lot of people are familiar with. Then the Slavonic 2 tablets of Enoch, which is another text most people are not familiar with. And then I have shared, but have not included with this particular publication, a text called Enoch 4, which I'm unable to verify its authenticity, so I'm not willing to include it in the publishing of this particular collection, but it is an intriguing read to say the least. And I have done show on it previously for those that may want to look it up in our YouTube archive. But I'm going to go ahead and read from this Greek because it won't take long. The account of Enoch the prophet. Enoch was shown a vision of the coming deluge. The Lord said, "My servant Enoch, you must warn the wicked generation that I tend to keep my promise. I will destroy every creation in the land, for they have corrupted all that I have made." Enoch asked, "Who will survive, my Lord?" God said, "I have a chosen vessel that will carry on the pure seed of righteousness. You will be taken before this great destruction comes. Warn the infidels." Enoch went out to the multitude and said, "Behold, the Lord is coming with 10,000 of his holy ones to mete out judgment to all those who are ungodly. You have sinned a grievous sin and forgotten the Creator of the world." After he said this, the multitude took up arms to kill him. And suddenly a whirlwind came from heaven, a storm of fire. Within the whirlwind of fire were seraphim, dragons of the power of God. All who saw this became blind in that moment, for their eyes were burned from their sockets. Enoch was then taken up into the heavens and disappeared from the land. No one knew where he went. He could not be found, for God took him to an appointed place, even to a place of holy ground. In this place, Enoch wrote books about the history of his people, from Adam until the time of his generation. And at that time, God showed him a vision of the great Leviathan and Behemoth. These two beasts were stirring up the proclamation, or the population in the end of days. Behemoth was a beast of liberty, and Leviathan was one of royalty and power. They began as one beast with a name called Phoenix. The phoenix died, and from the ashes arose these two great beasts. Behemoth eventually became greater and dictated its laws to the whole earth. It attacked Ishmael continually, even when he did not deserve to be punished. Then another beast came up. It awoke from a slumber. The beast was a dragon-like beast with 10 horns, returning to reclaim its 2 severed heads. That is, Leviathan and Behemoth. The 2 beasts fought for a while, but gave in afterwards. Now the dragon-like beast was again whole, and it ruled the whole earth. It placed its seal upon the multitudes, until one like the Son of Man came and destroyed the beast. After this vision, Enoch was afraid and stricken with awe. It came to pass that Noah entered the ark, and God fulfilled his will. And so you see, the reference to the Son of Man and destroying the beast kingdom, that again, like the first book of Enoch, which speaks about the Son of Man, the elect one in the Ancient of Days, and how judgment will be meted out at the final generation. When the harvest occurs, that this same thing is found reiterated in so much that is contained, even in the other, what I call the minor text of Enoch, that it references the same kind of occurrence, that he always alludes to Christ in second advent, and that it will be at that time that the war between the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent is finally ended, concluded, because he said of the tares, allow both to grow together until the time of the end. That if you root up the wheat, root up the tares, you root up the wheat with it. But you have to allow both to grow and to live out their lives and determine whether they are to be numbered with the elect or with the wicked and the children of perdition. And so that's the struggle This is the ancient war in heaven that is now found within the spirits, within the souls of humanity. That the whole thing of the shepherd of Hermas, the mandate number 6, the battle of the angel of righteousness and the angel of unrighteousness within us, the temptation to sin, the fall to carnality, are being caught up in the matrix of this world that is illusion and confusion and deception and delusion. And it is a struggle to even make sense of. And so being forced to drink of the cup of forgetfulness, we enter into this world as a clean slate, and born into sin, we rebel, becoming the prodigal child. We leave the comfort of sanctuary and wander into the wilderness of struggle, of corruption, and of wayward illusion and distraction, vain and false entertainment. And for many, it's difficult to remove oneself from such nonsensical occupation, preoccupation. And for a lot, they never do. They never make it out of that. But for those that achieve disconnecting and achieve breaking away and that go seeking for lost paradise, congratulations to you. You are most certainly part of the chosen few. God said, many are chosen, but few heed the call. Um, it's a true blessing, and it's a burden and a curse to know the truth and to have the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and a mind to understand. Because, breaking free and understanding how most are wrapped up and caught up into the matrix of illusion, we want to help others to also disconnect and to find their freedom. And yet, what we discover is that most have no concern at all for such freedom. They love their slavery, they enjoy their bondage, and they in no manner want to be set free. And they certainly don't want to put forth any effort to make it happen. And so, truth um, has no value in a world of distraction where most are lost to um, substance, true substance, and things that really matter. And so, I congratulate all of you, those of you that are here, that are listening to this, that have struggled to free yourself from such bondage. It's a great privilege to walk this journey with you and to be able to call you my brothers and sisters in the body of Christ, and that to be able to encourage you and to be able to have you encourage me in similarity. It's a beautiful honor and privilege to know you in this manner. And though I may not have had chance to meet you face to face, I know one day there's going to be a reunion, and that we are going to celebrate in a manner that we can't even comprehend right now. That the wedding feast the gathering of the bride, there's no words to describe. The former things will have passed away. What an incredible day. What an incredible thought. What an incredible memory it will be. Until next week, everybody, don't forget, I'll be on with Joy tomorrow night for the AMA. Catch us then, 9 to 11 p.m. on Zen Garcia on YouTube. Good night, all. God bless.
Sacred Word Revealed comes to Atlanta, Georgia on March 27th through 29th, 2020. Purposed to reveal end times mysteries, to prepare the final generation, we must don the full armor of God. Featuring Zen Garcia, Gary Wayne, Stephen and Yana Ben Noon, Dr. Stephen Pidgeon, Justin James Garcia, Dr. Joy Pugh, Rob Skiba, Laurel Austin, buy your tickets now at sacredwordrevealed.com.
Every day, questions arise.
Are the stories in the Bible true?
What if I told you that there are hundreds of confirming witnesses?
which give intricate detail to the stories in the Bible.
Have you ever found yourself deep in the rabbit hole with questions that no one seemed to have the answers to? Join us every other Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time for our Ask Me Anything series with author and researcher Zen Garcia, as he sheds light on the mysteries which have us all searching together.